Hey movie fans, welcome back to Rocky Watches Movies. Today we're taking a look at the hilarious and groundbreaking 1974 comedy Blazing Saddles. This Mel Brooks classic shook up Hollywood with its daring approach to social issues, unforgettable gags and biting satire of the Western genre. Even if you've seen it 100 times, there are a lot of fascinating behind-the-scenes tidbits you might not know about. So let's saddle up and get into 20 things you never knew about Blazing Saddles. Legendary comedian Richard Pryor was heavily involved in the creation of Blazing Saddles. He was part of the writing team, and for a time he was slated to play Sheriff Bart. However, Pryor was known for his struggles with addiction, and the studio feared he would be too much of a risk for such a prominent role, and ultimately Cleavon Little was cast as Bart. Blazing Saddles wasn't always called Blazing Saddles. Mel Brooks originally planned to name the film Tex X, as a playful reference to Malcolm X. Other titles that were seriously considered included Black Bart and The Purple Sage. Brooks struggled to come up with the perfect name, and he finally landed on Blazing Saddles while taking a shower. Hollywood icon John Wayne nearly joined the cast of Blazing Saddles. Mel Brooks was determined to have Wayne in the film and sent him a copy of the script. While Wayne found the script hysterical, he ultimately turned down the offer to appear, fearing it might tarnish his reputation as a serious Western star. Still, he promised Brooks that he'd be the first in line to see the movie when it came out. Blazing Saddles holds a very unique distinction. It's the first major film to include audible flatulence. The infamous campfire scene where cowboys noisily digest their bean-heavy dinner was groundbreaking in the most unexpected way. Mel Brooks felt it was only realistic given their diet of beans. He even made the farts louder to ensure audience laughter wouldn't drown them out. However, despite his foresight, the offending noises were muted in the Blazing Saddles TV release. Staying on the topic of bottom burps, Governor Le Pétomane, played by Mel Brooks himself, was named after a real-life French performer known for his flatulence artistry. Le Pétomane, which roughly translates to fartomaniac, was famous in the 19th century for his ability to pass gas in musical rhythms on stage. Gene Wilder wasn't Mel Brooks's first choice to play the Waco Kid. Multiple actors, including Johnny Carson, turned down the part before screen veteran Gig Young was hired for the role. But it became very clear very quickly that he struggled with alcoholism in real life. On the first day of shooting, he was reportedly going through withdrawal symptoms, became violently ill, and had to be rushed to a nearby hospital. This meant he had to be replaced, and fortunately Wilder was available and stepped in immediately. Blazing Saddles wasn't just a box office hit, it was also critically acclaimed. The American Film Institute ranked it number 6 on its list of the 100 funniest American films of all time. In 2006, the Library of Congress selected the film for preservation in the National Film Registry due to its cultural, historical, and aesthetic significance. Madeleine Kahn, who played the sultry and hilarious Lily von Stupp, earned an Academy Award nomination for Best Supporting Actress for her role. The film was also nominated for Best Film Editing and Best Song. Even though it's a comedy, Blazing Saddles made a serious impact. If you're enjoying the video, a subscribe to the channel would be as shocking as Sheriff Bart whipping it out. The director wasn't shy about making bold requests. A fan of Madeleine Kahn from Paper Moon, Brooks asked her during her audition to pull up her skirt and show her legs. Kahn responded, "So it's that kind of an audition?" Brooks, explaining that he was a happily married man, said he needed someone who could straddle a chair with her legs, much like Marlene Dietrich in Destry Rides Again. With a grin, Kahn lifted her skirt, adding, "No touching." After the success of the film, there was serious consideration given to creating a TV spin-off series. A pilot for a show called Black Bart was filmed in 1975. It featured Lou Gossett Jr. as Bart and Steve Landesberg as his drunkard sidekick, a former Confederate officer named Reb Jordan. Unfortunately, the show wasn't picked up. The film's villain, Hedy Lamarr, played by Harvey Korman, got his name from the real-life actress Hedy Lamarr. However, Hedy wasn't too thrilled with the joke and sued Mel Brooks for using her name. The lawsuit was settled out of court. Surprisingly, Warner Brothers executives didn't find the movie funny. During a test screening for the studio higher-ups, almost no one laughed. Brooks has said the head of distribution called it simply too vulgar for the American people. Let's dump it and take a loss. But the studio president, John Calley, insisted they open it in New York, LA, and Chicago as a test. But the head of Warner Brothers, Ted Ashley, also had serious concerns about the film's controversial humor. He demanded multiple cuts, fearing the film's racial and offensive language would spark outrage. In the end, Brooks took notes on what had to be cut, then threw it in the bin and left the film as it was. Burton Gilliam, who played the villainous foreman Lyle, was initially uncomfortable using racial slurs toward Cleavon Little. Gilliam pulled Little aside and expressed his concerns, but Little reassured him, saying, "If I thought you would say those words to me in any other situation, we'd go to Fist City, but this all fun. Don't worry about it." The famous scene where Mongo punches a horse wasn't just a silly gag, it was actually based on a real event. Mel Brooks worked with comedian Sid Caesar on Your Show of Shows. And in Caesar's autobiography, he recounts a time when his horse misbehaved on a trail ride and Caesar punched it between the eyes. Despite the scene being played for laughs and using a specially trained horse, Brooks and the studio received angry letters from animal rights activists. In true Blazing Saddles fashion, the film's premiere was anything but ordinary. The movie debuted at the Pickwick Drive-In Theatre in Burbank, California, and many of the guests, including members of the cast, arrived on horseback. There was even a horse fatality area. Frankie Lane, the singer behind Blazing Saddles' theme song, thought he was recording music for a serious western. Lane had no idea the film was a comedy, and he delivered the song with total sincerity. Slim Pickens, who portrayed the villainous Taggart, took his role very seriously. He often slept outdoors under the stars, with his rifle by his side to fully embrace his character. This method approach helped him get into the mindset of a rugged cowboy and give a gritty performance. When Blazing Saddles made its way to television, many of its more explicit lines had to be censored. For instance, Sheriff Bart's line, "Excuse me while I whip this out," was changed to, "Excuse me while I... wow." After the success of The Producers on Broadway, there was talk of adapting Blazing Saddles into a stage musical. Brooks has acknowledged interest, but he's also admitted that translating the film's edgy humour for modern theatre would pose some challenges. Alex Karras, who played the lovable brute Mongo, was actually a professional football player before he got into acting. Karras was a defensive tackle for the Detroit Lions in the NFL and made the transition to Hollywood in the 1960s. He also played Sheriff Wallace in the comedy classic Porky's from 1982. While Mel Brooks was writing Blazing Saddles, his wife Anne Bancroft gave birth to their son Max. Max Brooks would later follow in his father's writing footsteps, becoming a successful author best known for his zombie novel World War Z, which was made into a feature film starring Brad Pitt in 2013. And there you have it, folks. You now know a little bit more about Blazing Saddles. If you enjoyed the video, which I presume you did as you got this far, hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss any future videos coming to Rocky Watches Movies. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.